We are back, and this time we are talking about all things independent comic and zine festivals. I am just sorting out some volumes to make sure that everything is all hunky-dory and we don't blow anyone's ears off, but also everyone can be heard. Yes, that looks all good. I'm going to try and get my camera right on the screen. To my left, but possibly right on the screen, I've got Laura. Hello, Laura. I've got Laura from PCZF. Down below me, I've got Mereida from Zinezilla. Hey, Mereida. And then obviously there's Chris is in that corner.
I'm in a diagonal.
Yeah,
one of those.
We're in a little 4 QB square thing. So, but welcome. I'm going to start off and actually let you introduce yourselves and what you do, and talk a little bit more about the independent fairs you run. So, Laura, would you like to go first?
Of course. So I am Laura, and I run Plymouth Comic and Zine Fair with my lovely pal Sam. It's a comic and zine fair in Plymouth, and this is the 3rd year that I've been running it.
Amazing. And Mereida?
Hi, I'm Mereida. I live in Bristol, where I run Zinezilla with my friend Marcy. Zinezilla is, until now, it's been an illustration and zine fair. And this is the first place that we're putting it out there, but it's coming back this year for the 4th time. It include more comics and animation as well.
Amazing. So I guess sort of like a question to both of you is, and probably a question which I ask myself every day, why did you decide to host your own? Because both of you are creatives, both of you are comic writers, both of you are comic artists. What made you decide to go like, actually, I'm going to run my own event? Either one of you can go first if you want to.
Do you want to go first, Mereida?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah, I got into comics partly from attending events. I kind of discovered the world of indie comics through going to events in London, where I grew up. And when I came to Bristol for university, I was really excited because I'd heard about Shake and I'd heard about Bristol Comic and Zine Fair and all these cool things happening. And then I moved here in 2020 during COVID, and there was nothing happening. And then the events were really like slow to kind of come back as well. So Marcy and I kind of just decided that we'd do it ourselves. So the first one we ran in our 2nd year of uni, and we really had like no idea what we were doing, and kind of every time we've done it since then, it's gotten a little bit better organized and a little bit more professional. But yeah, I found such a beautiful community and so much inspiration, so much joy through attending events, and as a punter, tabling at events, like everything around it. And I even made my first ever zine at a zine workshop at an event. So to be able to provide that for other people is really exciting, and even just for ourselves that we get to meet everyone. Like, yeah.
Awesome. And how about yourself, Laura?
Yeah, I mean, it was fairly similar. So my first experience of going to a comic or zine fair was Bristol Comic and Zine Fair, and I was utterly heartbroken when they said that they weren't going to carry on with it. I think a lot of people were, and it's the same as Mereida. Like during COVID, like everything just stopped. And everything felt terrible. And the thing that kind of makes me feel good and like community orientated is things like zine fairs and comic fairs, and just being in a space with loads of people who are very similar and have like similar kind of interests. Like creative people. And yeah, so I was annoyed at how little there was in the Southwest for for people to go to, and for because I wanted to see everyone else's work as well. So I was like, well, if no one else is going to do it, I guess I will. Yeah, so I I had a little chat with. I sort of knew to begin with that I wanted to have it at Ocean Studios, which is where it's stayed since then, because it's such a beautiful space, and they have like a really lovely kind of wholesome artistic kind of community there. The space itself is so beautiful. It like really lends itself to kind of artistic endeavors. So I had a chat with Fran from Ocean Studios, which is run by Real Ideas. And we had a lovely chat, and she was so enthusiastic. I think part of it was that I was also really enthusiastic about it. I was like, please, can we do this? And yeah, so she helped me like every step of the way with the first one. And you know, it was a big learning curve because I knew basically nothing about organising events before that. But she was really helpful, and everything went really good for the first one. And yeah, and everyone said how much money they made, and which is always really good. And they also said like vibes were on point and everything felt really good. So yeah, that kind of encouraged me to carry on.
Cool. Yeah, I think one of the biggest things for us at PrideCAF as well is like how when people talk about that, the vibes are good, basically. Like it feels like a good, inclusive, creative, welcoming space.
Yeah.
And I'm sure both of you have had that as well. Like obviously we went to Plymouth last year, and we really liked the vibe of it. And I went to Zinezilla last year as well, and Zinezilla was packed when I went there, which was great. It was great to see like so many people around, like wanting to, not even like, they didn't even want to just like mill about. They wanted to keep on just going round and round and round and looking at people's work, which was really nice to see. And sort of having that nice feeling of just like, oh, people are enjoying the vibe, like, you know, not only just the general attendance but the exhibitors as well are there because they feel like it's a welcoming and inclusive space for them.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think what we've really noticed throughout our years of doing this is like how much like almost hunger there is for events and opportunities like this. And like it makes me giggle that it's happened every time that you kind of set up the event and the doors open and people start streaming in, and the first questions you get is, oh, when are you opening applications for next year? Like, when's the next one? When's the next one? And people like, and yeah, you have people who just kind of are there all day because they're just excited to be there and to meet these people. And I also really love it when you hear visitors say, oh, this artist that I've been like following for years, I finally got to meet them and buy their work in person. Equally, that people will come and say, I didn't know any of these people before and I love them all and I bought so much of their work. And so you have that kind of the making, like establishing connections, discovering new artists. And I mean, it's just like it makes it like the stress of organizing it can sometimes bring me down. So just actually being there and hearing people say that makes it all completely worth it. And I find as well, like, I mean, we're all making stuff, and I find it gets pretty lonely for me at least. And like being on your own and working at your desk and just kind of being in your own head. So to get like going to events, then you kind of all that work you put in on your own gets to be shared outwards. Yeah.
Awesome. What would be the one thing that you wished like you knew at the beginning, like when starting this? Because obviously now both of you have a few sort of events under your belt now. Like what would you wish you'd be able to tell yourself, like when you were first beginning this, like do this or don't do this? Or
for me, it was on the day of the very first PCZF. I thought that I was going to like vomit pretty much the entire time because I was so scared. And I think if if anyone's watching that was at the first PCZF, they will attest to the fact that I was running around like a crazy person, just like, are you okay? Is everything okay? And like I was so anxious about everything. So I would love like to tell my previous self that like chill out, it's gonna be fine and nothing terrible is gonna happen. Yeah. Yes, that was so mad.
I think it's funny that that was your experience because that was exactly my experience the first year as well. Like to a T. I had sleepless nights leading up to it, and like my memory is kind of blacked out almost the whole event. So like just like stressed and running around and making sure that everyone is okay. And like I don't think I stood still for like more than 2 minutes. And I remember I remember my mum bringing me a sandwich, but I don't remember my mum actually being there apart from that she brought me a sandwich at one point. So definitely, to chill out. And because I think I was like sleeping very little the week leading up to it just because I was so worried. And then I actually ended up in hospital 2 days later with like a mystery infection.
Oh god.
So it wasn't worth that stress. Like, and like once the event kind of starts, like people really look after themselves. Like, everyone knows what they're doing,
Yeah. Yeah.
And if
like,
they've got questions, they will come and ask you. Like, that's the thing. That's what you're there for, to be the organisers. They will come and tell you if they've got problems, generally.
Yeah.
From my experience. What about you, Nate?
Me?
Yeah. You're an organizer. You have to answer this question too.
That's true.
I mean, I know I'm also in it, but I'm the support. So what would you now tell past you?
I think probably more to document more things, like make sure that I've got like a note of everything that has, make a note of like every detail that you need and make sure that it's in a place, because the files that I have for PrideCAF are just like all over the place, especially like the graphics for like materials and for marketing materials and stuff like that. Those are all over the place. So something along those lines of just getting like much more properly organized. But that, I mean, it was a massive sort of like is this even happening sort of thing. Sometimes when you get into the full swing of it, it's just like, is this even happening?
Yeah.
Even though we are organisers, it doesn't mean we are organised.
No, it's true.
Yes.
We're good at herding sheep, not being a sheep.
Yeah.
I don't know. There's an analogy in there somewhere.
I would say even though the herding I sometimes struggle with, and the advice I try to give myself when we start every event, and that I end up taking far too little, is trusting other people to do things. Because I have this thing in my head where it's fine. Instead of us, people always offer to help, and people like there's a lot of people who really do want to be part of it and who want to help with the organization and the lead up to the event. And I always say, yeah, that'd be great. And then it comes to the thing, and I'm like, I'll just do it.
Yeah.
Instead of asking someone else to do it and then checking in on them, and then suddenly you've got the workload, like this mountain of workload. And I don't know. I think,
I definitely get like that as well. And I think part of it is, it's not trusting that the other person can't do it. It's not trusting yourself to be able to explain what you want. And so I'll be like, it will just be easier for me to just do it myself rather than have to try and explain what this jumbled up amount of mess in my brain is to another person and hope that they understand.
Very true. Yeah, I have a similar thing, but I don't know how much of it is like being a tiny bit of a control freak about things, and sort of because if it's just me doing stuff, then if anything goes wrong, it's me, that's done it, and that's fine. I can cope with that. But if I sort of hand over a bit of control to other people, like, and also if I'm doing it, I know exactly exactly what I need to do, and it's a bit like you said about like whether you can get across exactly what you want to achieve to someone else, and I struggle with that as well. But my friend Sam, who is helping me, is like, we're on a very sort of similar wavelength, and he's extremely good at, like, if I'm not being super clear with something, he's extremely good at sort of asking very specific questions to like help me to explain better to him what I need, and that's that's really helpful. It's like a really good kind of like bouncing off each other kind of thing.
That's a really helpful skill.
Yeah,
to be able to do that, really
helpful.
helpful.
Yeah. I mean, well, he's a lecturer, and he's the course leader on an illustration course. So he does have to be quite good at communicating and kind of like sort of extricating exactly what he wants to hear from his students. So yeah, it's very handy to have him by my side.
I think it's good to practice as well, like being the person that's giving the information and sort of getting to that wavelength. It will take time.
Yeah.
To kind of get to that mid-level of understanding, so that you can just go, oh, I just need this doing, and then that other person will take that task and just run with it, and you'll be able to, oh, that's just going to get done. Oh, okay. Yeah.
I don't have to worry.
That maybe there's a different battle there to like learning to not have to worry, perhaps.
Yeah.
I think another thing is learning as well how other people work best, because you know how your brain works and how to organize the things around you to best aid your own productivity. But I found like a lot of the people I've worked with their brains don't work in the same way. So how can I make it easiest for them? And like that sometimes takes a while to understand that, oh, okay, doing it this way doesn't work. But if I don't know. Yeah.
Nate and I have definitely had those conversations.
Yeah, because obviously we live together, so obviously the conversation can come up quite often, and then it's trying to find the best way of how we can not only work together but then use each other's strengths to the best of their abilities. So Chris is a lot more organized than me, and he's a lot better at sort of prioritizing job loads and things like that. Well, I'm very much just like, I'm going to leave it all to the last minute because that's when I'm most productive. So it's good to have him sort of like in the background, just kind of going, oh, by the way, this is probably a good thing that we bring this, even though as much as it like frustrates me on a sort of neurodiverse level, I also know on a logical level, no, he's right. This needs to be done now. So and it's really good to sort of have those different skills to get things, sort of running on time and running to the best that they can. Because obviously, Mereida, you don't run Zinezilla by yourself. You have I've forgotten their name.
My friend Marty.
Your friend Marty. So I mean, how does the teamwork between the two of you? How does that feel for both of you?
I mean, we always worked together well when we were at uni together. But like, I kind of do more of the organizational, like, kind of the spreadsheets and the emails and the funding applications and that kind of thing. And Marty runs the Instagram because too much for me, so and then we both work on the visuals and stuff, so we'll often take in turns to draw promotional material, and then when it comes to big decision making, it's always like the two of us. But it's quite I think the reason we've always been hesitant to bring anyone else into the fold, to like the inner circle, is just because Marty lives in London now, and we kind of work different hours. So if we want to have a meeting, we want to talk about anything, we can just jump on the phone together. Whereas like, and so like often it's a bit difficult being friends first and then fair organizers, because I'll be like, hey, I want to talk about some Zinezilla stuff. Let's jump on the phone. We jump on the phone. We chat for 45 minutes about all the stuff that we want to catch up on. And suddenly it's like, oh shit, I got to go in 10. We've got all this stuff to talk about, which happens every single time. but it's also nice because we have very similar, I would say, attitude towards the vibe. Like you were saying earlier with the vibe, it's so important. And for us, I think we decided very early on, we just wanted to have fun. And obviously I did get really stressed the first time around, but also like the whole vibe is set around a yellow dinosaur, and we go for bright colors, and we have characters and storylines and stuff that's really it's mainly for us. And it gives us something to work with when it comes to the marketing and the visual side of it. But I think, yeah, just keeping it fun and throwing around silly ideas, that's what really keeps the energy up. And especially as the events get bigger and the kind of time spent working on the event gets longer every year, I think having the other person there to really re-energize you, and I don't know, it's really important to us. Sorry, I don't know if that answered your question.
No, that did definitely. I think we brought this up. So Mereida, when we met you in person, you brought this up about how there seems to be like a lot of festivals out there that do like the 2 years, and then they say, "Oh, we'll come back. We'll take a break and then come back another year," and then they never do, just due to like burnout of running the event. Because obviously, all of us, we all run it in our own spare time. We've got jobs sort of around that as well. Like, do either of you feel like you have anything sort of sorted out when it comes to hopefully not getting into that burnout, or do you still feel like you probably struggle with, you know, overloading yourself with work when it comes to obviously like doing everything else that you need to do in life while also running this event? That made sense.
Yeah. I think that I mean, so as I'm doing more and more fairs, I am finding that trying to automate as many sort of processes as I can is very helpful. So I'm not the sharpest tool in the box, and I only found out about mail merging this year. So,
Hey.
So I'll have to learn.
Yeah, so the previous 2 years that I've run PCZF, I had made, like, I had to sort of individually do all the emails, which is so boring and annoying. And then I did a bit of looking around on Google, and very quickly found out that mail merge is a thing, and that you can do that, and you can like link it to a spreadsheet. So that was like mind blowing, and completely changed how much time I have to do other things, and also get a pal to help you, because doing it all by yourself will burn you out. So I think just having an extra person there. Oh, and also this year, like I've never asked for volunteers before, but that's changed this year. So so before I was doing everything like flyering and you know, all the other things that go with it. And this year Sam has helped me to be organised enough to actually like appeal for volunteers, and we've got a fair few that want to help, which is really nice. So I'm looking forward to like meeting all the volunteers and like not being afraid to sort of ask them to help with stuff, because that's what they want to do. So that's really nice. So they're going to be helping with things like flyering and setting up all the tables and everything. I think the first year setting up all the tables was done just by me and my partner in an evening, which was, you know, it took ages, and all the tables were really heavy, and and I felt like I'd done a whole workout afterwards. So much work. Whereas last year I got Sam to help with setting up the tables, and then like he was so helpful with that, that I was like, maybe he might want to help me with the whole thing. But this year we'll have extra pairs of hands, which is going to be great. Yeah, I think that answers your question.
Yeah, volunteers for us are a bit of a godsend. We know that like they're giving up their time, and I think this was the first-ish year that we had help with the tables for us. Or last year was the first year we had tables, but then we have general help during the day. So our general help during the day is like mostly there, and setting up 46 tables is a lot within the space. So yeah, like volunteers, our hearts go out to you, and we love when you volunteer. Like I think it's a really good way of getting into like being in the comic festival vibe as well, without being too overly responsible. So if you want to try and get into kind of like, or get to know the underworkings of comic festivals, go and volunteer. You'll learn a lot, and it's like a really good vibe. You'll normally get looked after by the people who want you to be there.
Buy so many biscuits for the volunteers this year.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
I have a question for both of you, if you don't mind, Nate.
Well, how about Mereida? Do you want to answer sort of like stuff about burnout first?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, yeah, definitely trying to get more people involved, whether that's volunteers or just people helping out in the lead up, is definitely a big one. And I would say for us, we've never taken for granted that we'll do it again, and that's why we did it in September one year, and then we did it October the year after, and then sorry, I'm on the call. And then because we were in our third year of uni, we were like, oh, we don't really want to be doing a fair and like doing the degree show and all that. So then we kind of, we just graduated and we wanted a break, and then we did it the spring after that, and now we've gone for autumn again. So I think for us, like, yeah, not saying that we're going to do it every year and it has to be this thing, but just we're going to do it this time, we're going to enjoy it, and then kind of waiting and resting, and then when the feeling overcame us, we were like, okay, no, I think we'd like to do it again. Just kind of that flexibility. So
wait till the night, right?
Yeah. So I think we sacrifice a little consistency for only doing it when we really think we can do it and we can put the effort in, and it can be a good experience for everyone.
Yeah, good. You've got to, because you bring yourself so much to it as well. Like you've got to know that you're good in yourself, or else it's just not going to run the way that you want it to run.
Exactly. I'm really sorry. I did go to the loo before this, but I've drank a lot of tea, so I'm just gonna pop.
You go for it.
These things happen.
Yeah, Chris, how about
it's live?
Got your question?
So my question, I'll repurpose it when Mereida comes back. So Laura, what have you? I mean, your space, knowing the Ocean Studios, your space is very accessible. Yes. How important was that? I mean, you've got an upstairs space, but there is a lift, right, to get to the upstairs. So how important was it for you to kind of have an accessible space?
I mean, it's just, for me, it's just like common sense. I don't want to actively kind of exclude people for any reason. So I made sure when I because we've had a few a few exhibitors before that have had things like wheelchairs and like canes and stuff. So I wanted to, like, in the emails that I send out with like the exhibitor info, I always make sure to write exactly like where the toilets are and like how to access the upper floor and everything. And just make sure that people know that, like, you know, some people are gonna have like a sort of negative kind of sensory experience, and so like you know there are spaces that they can go to if everything's getting a bit much. Yeah, so that is important. Like, and I think it's like I think if you're if people are feeling excluded, then that, you know, they're not gonna try and come back again, and you know, you're kind of like people are missing out on something that is really sort of exciting and valuable, and I don't ever want anyone to feel like you know, like access is a problem for them. Yeah,
that makes sense. Yeah. Mereida, the question is, how important is it to you that your space is accessible? And I know that you're changing spaces this year, or don't know if you need to mention that or not mention it.
All right, we haven't made an official announcement yet, but we are changing venue.
Yeah.
And so I'm visiting the venue next week to kind of get the full breakdown. It's important for me to make sure everyone is included and feels like they can have a good experience there. And feedback we've had the last 2 years is that it's been really overcrowded, which is really nice because it means a lot of people are wanting to be there and spend time there. But a big reason for looking for a larger venue has been that we can just be more accommodating, and like with the sensory thing as well. I mean, we have so many people coming who are really like excited to enjoy the art, but it can be absolutely overwhelming. So hopefully with more space, we can really make space for everyone. And we're going to have a lot of different, well, not a lot, so we're going to have 3 different spaces in the event this year. So we'll have one space that will have the art market, and then a workshop space for kind of talks and workshops where you can kind of sit down and spend some downtime, and then also an animation festival where, again, if you want to sit down for a bit and just watch a film or listen to a talk, you can do that. And then to break up the time, and means not everyone's kind of rushing through at the same time.
Yeah, that sounds like you're making moves towards kind of like, I think the difficulty is for us is to find what tries to work for as many people as possible, and you'll never please everyone.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But you can try as hard as you can. We have just 2 years ago we bought like a bunch of just earplugs just to have on the front desk.
That's
or
a
on
really
the
good idea.
just
I'm
to
going to
be
write that down. One sec.
I mean, you're welcome to borrow some. I mean, they're one use.
Are they reusable?
You just hand them out. You just hand them out, and you just be like, "There, take them." I bought like a bulk of like 100 earplugs, and you just give them out to people. And I think that's kind of like, not many people use them because most people who know they have sensory things come with like earplugs themselves, or come with noise cancelling headphones, that kind of thing. But they're really useful just to have there, and it's just one extra thing. We would love to have a space, a chill out space, but in our current remit, it's not entirely possible. Not a nice chill out space, at least. So it's it's very much juggling. But I think Laura said it like really well. So saying we don't want to exclude people, and we want to make that barrier as low as possible.
Yeah,
I will say as well. Sorry.
No, it's okay. You carry on.
The Comics Cultural Impact Collective, who are doing some really great work, in research, they've put out a pamphlet or a pack for fair organisers, talking about all the sorts of accessibility needs and issues, and how to combat that. Not combat, that's the wrong word. How to how to kind of make it as
facilitate.
Accommodate.
So that's a really good resource that I'll be referring to.
Yeah, and also run by some amazing people.
Yeah. We've I think in our third year, that was the first time we sort of implemented a program into PrideCAF. So like a written program that we just handed out, and people could sort of see when the talks were and who the artists were and things like that. And we also provided like a printed out large version, which our designer made for us, which could be viewed on the website, and could also, we just printed out a few so people could have them. And we did have like he exhibited last year, but he just came as a punter that year, and I was just talking with them, and they said like, you're actually doing more work than what like most museums do for like their sight impaired people, because they just like, oh, they're sight impaired, they can't see the art, when it's just like, no, that's not necessarily true. They just need a little bit of added help for, you know, reading words, because they just need to be a bit bigger, because you make them this tiny, and they're even hard for people who don't have like sight impairments. So that was always really nice to hearing that like just kind of doing that little bit extra can just really help someone to be more accessible to what we're trying to do. And it doesn't even need to be that expensive. It can just be something that's on a Google Drive that you share, and that you say like, here is the link to it. Like, hopefully this will, you know, help sort of see the program a bit better. You can be really imaginative on how you can provide accessibility to people. And I think this was the issue when we were sort of like, we wanted to go with a venue that, you know, was also a charity itself, and that we could afford, and that was also like massively accessible as well. You know, it had lifts, it had like street level entry, and had enough space that we could have a good amount of artists in, but also provide enough space for people to walk around, that had like not only just accessible toilets, but unisex toilets as well. And that was sort of easy to navigate, and was fairly central as well. So it's not hard for people to get to. If they live sort of outside of Bristol, they can get there quite easily. It just always makes me laugh how there are some buildings out there that say, oh yes, we are fully accessible, and then you get there and there's like a step that goes through into a tiny narrow door, and it's like, we've just seen you, this is not accessible. yeah, fully accessible. You have to go round the back where the bins are and talk to a member of staff to let you in, and they're not necessarily going to be there to let you in. It's like the idea that they think that's accessible is just mind-blowing to me.
I mean, even doing things like, we use the dyslexia font, the open dyslexia font for our program. It's just a font that's easy to read for dyslexic people. That's a tiny weeny bit, and costs you £0 to do. You can donate £pounds if you want, which I think we did, just to kind of use it. So yeah.
If people want to know what that looks like, if they look down at the bottom with the donate link, that's actually the dyslexia font. So yeah, if you want to see what it looks like and try and get more places to implement it more,
I will find a link and put it in the chat.
I forgot we were on YouTube for a minute.
I mean, hopefully that's nice. Hopefully that just makes it feel like we're having just like a nice chat.
Yeah, we are just having a nice chat.
The one thing that I get from running these events is just how self-reliant like exhibitors are. Like, you can just leave them to get on with it, and they know exactly what to do. Have both of you found that? Because you just show them a table, and then they'll just produce this like beautiful array of work, like fantastic stall. Like, I mean, as both of you, but also as like creators and exhibitors yourself, like I'd be interested to hear your thoughts on that.
I mean, that's what's fun about just doing an event as an exhibitor, is like, suddenly I don't have to worry about the whole event, and I can put all the effort into just how my table looks. But for sure. And it's, I mean, like, it's always exciting, because obviously, you know, you've kind of looked through applications and you've curated the event to a certain extent, but there's so much that people just bring that is always unexpected. And my biggest frustration is that I never take any pictures on the day, because I'm really busy. And then afterwards, I'm like,
get a photographer.
It's been this amazing. I do need to do that this year, because like I'm always like looking for a record of how beautiful just to look at the event was, and always come up short.
Yeah, I struggle with that as well. I've never had like a photographer, and I think looking back through my photos of like the last 2 events that I've done, there's like 3 pictures. It's just ridiculous.
Yeah.
And then whenever you have to apply for something and they ask for picture evidence, it's like, well, I haven't got any.
Yeah.
I was too busy.
Yeah, you're like, I know I was there, but I don't have any picture evidence of it.
Let me paint you a verbal picture. Like, imagine.
If it helps in any way, we use a photographer called Nikki Ebbage here in Bristol. They're really good. We've really liked their photography. We've used them since the very first PrideCAF. So they're Bristol based, unfortunately, for you, but we can highly recommend. They also do like wedding photography and other bits and bobs. So definitely recommend them and get in touch with them. And their rates are very reasonable as well. Like their rates are really good. And they'll be happy enough to sort of walk around for an hour and then take pictures for you.
That's cool. I like how Shake does it, where they have like their little Polaroid thing.
Yeah.
And they take pictures of all the, I think that's really cute. That's a lovely touch.
Yeah. What other events have you, like, we know from Inc. as well, as they were meant to be in this panel today, but unfortunately we're unable to make it. But when we spoke to them at PrideCAF, like 2 of the members did mention that they've taken a lot of ideas from us, like, you know, sort of providing water and snacks for the exhibitors and lots of other things. Like, is there anything that you've taken from other events, or you've actually gone to another event and said like, or you've spoken to them and said, oh yeah, we took that idea from you, and sort of like that sharing and collaborating of ideas with other events actually, you know, better offs the whole community?
The having a communal table that came from Catford, I think, or South London Comic and Zine Fair, a few events I did in London, and I sold my first ever comic at a communal table at a tiny comic fair. So to be able to do that for others is really exciting, and people love it. Like there was one year we had a communal table, and it was like it was actually pretty badly organized, because it was just like teetering with work that people had brought in and were excited to sell. But
I think same here. Sorry.
Yeah, go for it, Laura.
Yeah. So communal tables is a thing that we're doing this year as well for the first time. I still need to figure out how to like what the best practice is with it. But that's something that me and Sam will figure out. And we can always talk to other people. And the first time I remember seeing a communal table was at Bristol Comic and Zine Fair, and I thought that it was a lovely idea for people that either can't go for the whole weekend, or that didn't get the chance to have a table. Still gives them the chance to get their work seen by people and to make a little bit of money from it. So I think that was a really nice idea.
I think the first time I saw a community table was, I think, Tab Kimpton. He does one at Thought Bubble pretty much most years for like the trans and non-binary community, so they can bring their comics along, and he'll sell them sort of like alongside his table. And I think that was the first time I'd seen that sort of happen, and liked it as an idea, and kind of wanted to develop that, especially as down in the southwest, like it's pretty hard to get up to like a really big event like Thought Bubble, especially if you've only got like really small little things, and you don't have enough money to even just like the table is relatively expensive as it is, but then sort of like the travel and the accommodation, and like Harrogate's not a cheap place to stay for a weekend. So having all of that, it was just something that we were able to do. And like we've found with like doing these community tables as well at other places, so not just Thought Bubble, but also we run the community table at PCZF as well, like just like how wonderfully accommodating like people like the organizers have been. So like yourself, Laura, have been wonderfully like, you know, kind of going like, yes, that's great, bring it along, and being like really accommodating to that sort of idea has, you know, been, it means that we're able to do that sort of thing as well. So, and we're more than happy enough to share our ideas with community tables if you need anything.
And I will say, I nixed your idea to apply for Thought Bubble as a community table this year, so send off the application for us.
Wicked.
Yeah, that's cool. Okay.
You never know what it will bring, but there's a lot of sharing of ideas. And Mereida and we met up in person a couple of weeks ago. It was just like, we should probably just start forming some sort of like comic event creators bubble that we can then just share ideas about. Like, and I'm like, yeah, we definitely should do that.
That's a good idea.
So like maybe that's kind of some of the effort I can put into this year, is just to start that and invite you guys in, just be like, okay, let's just use it as an idea dump place at the moment, and then we'll slowly filter the bits that are important and organize it.
Yeah.
And
go ahead.
I will say, when it's coming to what events we've been inspired by, it wasn't anything specific, but I have to give credit to Joe Stone, who ran Hackney Comic and Zine Fair for a couple of years, because he was the person I knew best when we started Zinezilla, and I think every week I was probably sending him messages and going like, how do I do this, what does that mean? And so yeah, big shout out to Joe Stone for just fielding all of my questions.
Good egg.
Is it Nate, is it worth talking about things that people might not know about? Things like, I don't know, insurance. I mean, insurance is boring, right? Nobody wants to talk about insurance.
I mean, we can have a talk about the boring things we didn't think would be involved, and yet they are involved. So things obviously like insurance, and I guess like whether or not you've actually gone down that route of, and whether like depending on the size of your event, like how necessary is it to have. So we get public liability insurance, just because as people who like attend prides and things like that, like that's now become like a really big thing. Like once upon a time we didn't need to do anything like that, but now like a lot of the bigger prides, even if you just want a little table, you have to provide public liability insurance just for yourself, and that's like 50 quid already. So, and like
Can I ask how much it costs for the whole event, roughly?
About 75 quid, I think. Is it more than that, Chris? You know better. So
it's more than that.
Yeah.
It's more than that. Yeah. I will look up. I'll go do some little bit of research, because it's in our invoices. We've got invoices for it and everything.
Yeah.
So
No,
bear with
like,
me.
the public liability insurance basically covers like if there's any damage done to the building, if there's any damage done to anyone,
people fall over.
Yeah.
Like it covers
God,
us.
you're really scaring me now.
And
sorry.
I mean,
to think about
having just like a health and safety, you know, form that you filled out that just shows like you've taken precaution with all of these things, you know, sort of like what could go wrong. Someone can trip up. What are we going to do to minimize this person tripping up? We're going to tape down cables. We're going to make sure any tripping hazards are either clearly labeled or are out of the way. So having things like that, so even if you don't have a liability insurance, like a lot of the time, like people understand it's like a small little event, and I think people who have these buildings as well, like they get it, like they get that sort of like a bit of paint is going to be chipped off, maybe someone's going to kick a chair wrong, something along those lines, and it having that health and safety sort of form will help to make sure that like you're like, no, we have prepared for this. It just might mean that like if someone does decide to kind of go like, no, we're going to charge you for this, that the liability insurance just helps out with that, just in case it gets a little bit very expensive. But I think that's mostly just to cover our it's like, I guess in a way it's like holiday insurance. Like if you're going away somewhere, good 99% of the time, hopefully nothing happens, but it's just that one, that maybe that 5% of something possibly happening, and it's just making sure you've got that security. Squid has just mentioned, would it be cheaper to join something like AN, which I think includes public liability and includes other member benefits? I don't work for them, lol. So that might be worth sort of looking into. Squid, you might have to explain a little bit more what AN is, or if anyone else knows what it is. Is it sort of like a? I'll see if Squid sort of mentions back, but yeah. I guess sort of like, I mean, do either of you mess about with accountants? I think since we became like a non-for-profit business, obviously we had to prove like our accounts and things like that. So we got an accountant to help us out. But is that something that you're thinking of in the future, or does that absolutely put the fear in you that it's like, oh, I have to deal with big amounts of money?
I mean, it's not the biggest money spinner, doing little events. I do, so I tend to just declare everything on my own personal tax return every year.
Okay.
And that, just to sort of, because it's essentially just me, generally just doing it. And with regards to things like public liability insurance, when I was organising the first one with Fran from Real Ideas, because of like the sort of structure of their kind of business, they already have kind of like risk assessments and insurances in place to kind of protect them, and I think that if anything were to happen, then they would be able to claim on theirs.
Okay.
But I think that in itself doesn't kind of protect the exhibitors that are going. So I think if exhibitors are kind of a bit worried about that sort of thing, then they can sort out their own public liability insurance, and that will cover them personally. But as for me, as in like the event organizer, I don't have it for PCZF as a thing.
£383
Okay.
is the number that I have that we paid last year. We do have again, we were dropped a name by somebody, an insurance broker that works quite closely with LGBTQ people. So we kind of like, we use that contact, and we just use the same contact every year. And for us, it's peace of mind, I suppose.
Yeah.
It's quite a lot of money to shell out, but I think it's worth it. But it's equal opportunity to say, like, you don't have to do it. You can just trust that everybody is going to be really sensible. That is going to happen. So yeah.
So far, nothing terrible has happened.
Yeah, it's like touch wood.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
We did almost have one year, and it was our first year as well, where someone felt like it was a really good idea to bring in their foldable bike, and then try and almost smack into someone's display and almost knock it all over. I wasn't there when I saw it, but I heard like a couple of people told me who were there in the situation, which is always like a really good thing to know, because now I know to put up a sign saying, don't bring your foldable bike in.
You wouldn't have thought about that before.
No, it's until it happens, you don't think about it, and then you're just like, because we have like a lot of e-scooters in Bristol as well, so it's basically telling like, don't bring in your e-scooter, don't bring in your bike, don't bring in, unless it's like a legitimate mobility aid, like don't bring it
in. Squid came back saying, like an artists union, we campaign on crucial issues from fair pay to intellectual property, ensuring that artists' voices are heard and shaping policy. It might be worth reaching out to them. I don't know. I've never investigated it, but
Well, we'll see if we
Open
can
to
get some more information, and maybe we'll pop that in the description, or pop it when this video, because this video is recorded and it will go as its own little section on our YouTube channel. So maybe we'll pop that in the description as well when we find out more info. Thank you, Squid. We've got about 5 minutes left. Yeah. I'm just trying to think what might also be. What would you like exhibitors to know, like a brand new exhibitor who may be sort of like applying for your fair, like maybe they feel like conscious that they haven't got enough stuff, like what would you recommend to them? So like we always say, like we always want to bring in sort of new artists. We just want to know that like they've got their stuff out there, like even if it's just your Instagram that says like, hey, I made this zine today. All we want to know is that they're going to have enough stuff to fill the table that they've applied for, and that they sort of understand, like, the table's going to cost this, we'll need it at this time, and we try to be as transparent as possible to let them know like how long they have and to pay for a table. But what information would you give to sort of like brand new exhibitors who may be quite hesitant to apply for any of your fairs?
For me, I think please don't be disheartened if you don't get a place. I've applied to freaking millions of fairs, and there's loads that I haven't got into. And yes, it does feel like you're like you're shit, or like or like you're making terrible work, but it's not. It's absolutely not that. Sometimes it's like for me, because I do because PCZF runs over 2 days. Sometimes like your work can be amazing, but if I don't, like if I've got someone using a space on the Saturday and I need to fill a space on the Sunday, then like sometimes it just doesn't work out with like the space that's available. And like this year we've had loads and loads of applications, and unfortunately I've had to say no to so many people, which really bothers me. But a lot of it is down to like trying to, like we've had loads of people applying for full tables this year rather than half tables. So a lot of the people that have applied for full tables, I've had to offer a half table just so that we can get like more artists in. So things like that. And also like if you're applying for a comic fair or a zine fair, just make sure that like your website or your social media profiles have pictures of work that you make, because otherwise we're not gonna, we want to see what kind of things you're making, and we want to see like what you'll be selling. So that's just, and like a lot of the people that I had to say no to, I looked at their websites and their social media, and I couldn't see anything like sequential at all on their websites or social media. So it's things like that, just making sure that if you're applying for a comic fair or a zine fair, that you don't just sell like stickers and prints, because that's not what we're after.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't really have anything to add. I feel like you put that really well. And I would definitely second that about, we've also, last year we had so many applications, and it was really, really tough. Unfortunately telling people that they didn't have a table this time, but yeah, like keep sending in the applications, and like we are trying to as well, if people didn't get in last year, like make sure people can have another opportunity. And if you're nervous about applying because you've never done it before, just try it. I mean, like the worst you'll hear back is no, and it can just be quite a good experience to put your work out there. And like you also said, making sure that you're showing your work somewhere online for people to see, and even that in itself can like be really confidence boosting, because you collect your work and suddenly you can see that, oh wow, I've actually made something.
Look at all these things I've made.
If an exhibitor gets a no from you, what would your feelings be on them contacting you saying, oh, is there could you give me any more specific reason? Would you be willing to kind of give a more specific reason as to like, this is why we didn't pick you this time? Please reapply,
Absolutely.
that kind of thing.
I have that this year.
We can't. There's a lot of emails to write, so we can't write every reply. But honestly, if people do want feedback, like, we'd be really, really happy to give it, because that could be really helpful as well.
Yeah, and might, you know, that will help them next time they apply as well.
Exactly.
Yeah.
With that said, thank you both of you so much for joining us today. Lots of really interesting information, lots of really interesting insights to the stuff that you do. And obviously, like, both the fairs that you run are absolutely incredible. We love them both. So do you want to do a quick plug just before we finish, Laura?
Yeah. What, of PCZF or my own person?
Both.
So you can find PCZF online. So we're on Instagram at Plymouth Comic and Zine Fair, and my own personal illustration work is on Instagram at Laura Hole Illustration. Hole is spelled Hole, like a hole.
You can follow Zinezilla on Instagram, Zinezilla_Bristol. And Zinezilla will be coming back on Sunday, the 7th of September this year at the Trinity Centre in Bristol. We will be opening applications probably in March, and we'll announce everything through the Instagram. So if you're interested in applying, all of the information will be found there. If you're not on Instagram, we also have a website, zinezilla.bigcartel.com, where we'll be trying to put the information as well. And I hope to see everyone there.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for both of you joining us.